Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo! Hump day?
I wish I could have heard it.
Oh, Wendy Bell Radio is live.
I kind of feel naked now. Do I not say it? I mean, because you already said it, but I think, hey, do you
Is
guys
that
know?
one?
Yes. Do you guys know what day it is? Oh, really?
It's hump day.
Oh, it is hump day. Did you need me to remind you to do something in there, dear?
No.
Okay.
Wow.
Hi, everybody. Brock and I are having an argument.
Are we really?
He doesn't know it, but we're having an
Right.
argument.
Yeah, exactly.
So he gets up and he goes to the bathroom, which is no big deal. He pees 74 times a day. So I'm used to it, right? Up and down and up and down, up and down, up and down. Hopefully you've got a pedometer on or your iPhone allows you to track steps or your watch, whatever. But he was gone for a long time and I was like,
Let's define long time.
I'm like, he's
12
gone.
minutes.
Yeah. I'm like, what happened to you? I mean, I don't think I've ever spent 12 minutes in the bathroom.
I wasn't in the bathroom for 12
Well,
minutes.
I didn't know that. And so I sent him a text and I'm like, where the hell are you? I thought he was maybe having a seizure or something because I've seen that. And I when he's here and he's not around, it's worrisome, right? And so I just simply said, where the hell are you? And so now it's this big thing.
No, instead
I
of
can't go to the bathroom for 12 minutes without it. And I was like, no. I didn't know if you were out fixing the internet.
You could have said, where are you? I'm concerned. Are you okay? But no.
Or
where the hell are you?
Where the hell are you?
Right.
Or when he recollected it, he remembered me saying factually incorrectly, where are you at?
Oh, God almighty.
Right? This is my face when I hear that. I'm like, does not compute malfunction? He was absent that whole month when they were talking about prepositions and how you never end sentences in them. And that at. Oh, I love this. It's so enjoyable. Hi, everybody. How are you? So how about this? And I'm not a conspiracy person, but so
really?
So yesterday, I'm not. No, we dance around rabbit holes and sometimes jump in a little bit, but it's not whatever. We back stuff up here. So that Richard Hirschman interview we had yesterday, I got that idea when I saw this article in the Gateway Pundit where it's a video of him as an embalmer finding something and pulling it out of someone's jugular, whatever, pulls it out. And so I called him. I'm like, hey, I want you on the show because we haven't had you in a while. And he's like, absolutely. So we came on, did the interview. We talked about it, right? We talked about this study, 99 million people. And I didn't give you all the specifics of the study because the whole point is for you to be interested and to go and want to read about it. That's how it works. And Gateway Pundit scrubbed him, that video, and all of its documents about it off of their site. And I was like, really? Huh. I won't do that. Just so you know. Look, all this stuff that the television stations and the papers don't want to cover, and the corporate-owned radio folks don't cover because there are edicts to not cover it, all this stuff is going to be mainstream. It already is, and they're not with it yet. And they're going to have to answer to that. Where have you been for 3 years? Where have you been? Because we've been right here, and we've been talking about it. So there you go. There's my little rant. Subliminal messaging.
We made it to number 6 yesterday.
Because of you.
Yeah.
See?
We only broke the top 10 or top 5 once.
And we have a pittance of an audience compared to all the other guys. That Julie G Ministries, she always has hundreds of thousands of views. I've never watched her, but I think that's awesome. Good for her. And all the other folks. It's nice to be represented there. I think it's fantastic. What do we have? 36,000 people, 34.9. So we're inching along. Maybe we'll hit 35 today.
Don't forget to sign up for locals, please. We're having a meeting with locals or Rumble to talk about how we can stream just to locals. So
yeah, we want
that's coming soon.
We're going to start putting up some extra content. Now, I'm not going to guarantee you that we're going to look good because it's probably going to be in the
Sunday mornings are nice.
Sunday morning, yeah. It's going to move the needle. Just a minute, please. There we go. Thanks.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to your daily dose of facts to fight off the liberal gaslighting.
You can be in the middle of a hurricane.
You have sanctuary in the city of Chicago.
Or you can be on a calm day. North is still north. You could be in a thunderstorm.
I am angry. We are not going back. Not ever.
North is still north. People can yell at you.
The hell with the Supreme Court. We will defy them.
North is still north. It doesn't change fundamental things. And in this business, right is still right, even if you stand by yourself.
We don't get fooled again. No.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, we're converting the Marxist left 1 hour at a time on the Wendy Bell radio program.
Well, hello, America and beyond the fruited plain. Welcome home to the Wendy Bell radio program, your source of common sense conservative values, Monday through Friday. Delighted to be with you. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to chew on different kinds of sound for you. We're going to dabble in some other topics for you today that I think are worthy of conversation. And I think we're beginning to see just the very tip of the iceberg of this revolution, if you will, in the business world, not just truckers now, but people who are pushing back against this dictatorial, tyrannical, one way, our way kind of rule in this country that is fundamentally antithetical to who we are and what we believe and what our founding fathers saw in this beautiful republic, I should say, but it was an experiment. We're still in that experimental phase, but we are contracting, ladies and gentlemen. Things are happening, and it's very exciting. So if you're new to the program, Wendy Bell Radio Network app, love to have you join in the live video stream. Remember, Newsmax takes the last 2 hours on their N2 channel, free channel for Newsmax, and we've got a great podcast, Wendy Bell Radio. Plug it in, download us, 2 million downloads strong and growing. Welcome home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. I think all of us have a guilty pleasure, something that we do, not eating or drinking wise, but someplace we allow our minds to go when we are at system overload. When it seems like everything is going wrong and the information we're receiving is too heavy, sometimes you've got to step outside of that space and do something that relaxes you, that takes you away from it. And mine is cyber shopping for really overpriced real estate in Florida. That's what I do. I go on these various websites. I've been doing this for years. And I just dream. Now, my searches have certain parameters. I mean, they're not crazy, but they're dream parameters. I search between $1.5 million and usually $3 million. This is the dream house in my mind. Whether or not I'll ever get it is irrelevant because in the moment, I already have it. And I go through these websites and I look from the outside and I start walking into people's homes. I mean, it's almost voyeuristic if you think about it as you're shopping for real estate. Looking at how somebody else has lived their lives, their decisions, the appliances and the various things in their home that are important to them. And I have found something very traditional, if you will, 95% of the homes are the same. It's the same sort of idea. You walk through the front door, and immediately to your right is a half wall in which there is a dining room, which the American family doesn't use anymore. To the left, invariably, is a set of double glass doors leading into an office. Again, I'm not so sure that's really part of my plan here. See, I see this as my dream for the future. My house has 5 bedrooms, maybe 6. There's a big yard because of Murphy, of course, and no matter how long he lives, he will always be there in my heart. So there will be a yard. There's mature landscaping, palm trees, maybe bougainvillea, the purple kind, magenta kind, maybe some orange. There's some rosemary bushes and perhaps some fresh lemon and lime trees. And you walk into a space that feels like home. And every boy in my house has a room in this dream. Not necessarily for himself, but for perhaps a wife and children to come and to be with Joe and me in this next phase of our life. Out back, there's a pool. And if I'm super, super lucky in my dream, I live on a canal, and there's a dock with tiki torches that can be lit at night to watch the sun go down. And there are Adirondack chairs. And I see myself with maybe grandchildren and Joe fishing off of the dock. I see a kitchen that is big, that has a big open island for little people to sit on stools if they spend the night. I see this in my eye, in my mind, in my heart. And I'm going to get it. I know I will. I don't know where. I don't know when, but in my heart, it's going to happen. Now, dreams aren't supposed to be affordable. They're not even supposed to be reasonable. Who knows if they are even attainable? But it's that in the back of your mind that bubbles forward when you need a break, when you need to dream. And that's mine. It has many, many, many more layers because I can smell it. And I don't even have to have my eyes open to know what it looks like. And every day, I'm one step closer to that becoming reality. What we've been going through has been the steady dismantling of our ability to dream. The people who tell us every single day, with their hair on fire, that this or that is a threat to democracy, that there is this inherent danger out there, that if we don't act and we don't do X, Y, or Z, it's going to be the end of this majestic place that we all love. What they really want to do is they want to steal your dreams. They want to squeeze you. They want to control you. They want to take away that part in you, that escape, that fire, that makes you on a day when you don't want to get out of bed, pop up and go. Because tomorrow, you're one step closer to it. It makes me angry, the lies that we hear, the voices who demand our attention. These are not good people. These are not honorable people. These are not people who deserve our respect. And because we are a good and decent team-playing people, because we've had the one for all and all for one mentality, and we have for more than 100 years in this country, we've let a lot go. We haven't risen up. We haven't emerged from the shadows. We haven't voiced our opinions, but we've been watching. And that is where I think we are today. This is a last gasp moving forward. The people who hate the idea of American exceptionalism, the people who hate anything related to making America great again, these people already are a threat to our democracy. It is these people who encourage me to take time every week, whether it's on a weekend before the sun rises, to sit down with my computer and just dream. They've already taken a lot from us. They cannot take that. And so I implore you, dream. Don't worry if it's silly. Don't worry if anybody else would think it would be reasonable. Don't worry if it costs gobs of money and is totally ridiculous. Take that time and go there, because they'll never be able to rob you of that. Now, we have some interesting things to talk about on this program today. And a lot of it is about Donald Trump, but it's really not. He's the whipping boy for what they want to do to you. He is the precedent. You will be what follows. And more Americans are snapping out of the trance, and they are seeing this attack on what we believe, on what we dare to dream as Americans, and they see it. When we come back, I want to share a little, I believe it's it's a New York Post blurb about something, Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. I want to talk to you briefly about this, all right? Because it's interesting. All right, we're going to go there. Do not go anywhere. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. I was thinking about that this morning because even when things are super stressful, I'll sit down and I'll plug in one of my searches and I'll just sit back and I'll walk into somebody's home and they've got their pictures on the wall and their artwork and their decorations and their ideas about comfort and family. And it's wild to see how people live. Some things are horrendous, right? And you're like, oh my gosh. Other things are like, wow. It's wild and it's free and it's such a delicious escape. Whatever yours is, go there today just for a little bit. You need it.
Some people pointed some things out.
Oh, there wasn't space about you in that. Really?
Don't let her fool you. The living or the dining room in the office, that's just a 2-bedroom. That's all that is.
Wow. To think that after dealing with me starting at 3 a.m. until ostensibly 12:30 in the afternoon and then ping-ponging back and forth. And then I have to take you to the hockey game this weekend for your birthday.
You have to.
You'd think that you spend enough time with me.
You have to.
But now you want to live with me.
I have to.
Well.
You have to. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
So, Brock, where do you go if you dream?
I don't.
You don't dream? Sure you do.
No, not like that.
Why not?
That's not my...
Really?
Mm-mm.
I want to tell you quickly about the Simkovich Concussion Institute, and I want you to hear this. After my car accident and skull fracture, when the medical industry told me to go on disability because I would never get better with my traumatic brain injury, my vestibular disorder. I couldn't comprehend what I was reading, my memory loss, migraines, tinnitus, vomiting. I was on tons of medication, all this stuff, went to go see Dr. Charles Simkovich at the Concussion Institute in Pennsylvania. That man, our guardian angel, helped me off the meds and get control of my health. I appreciate this man so much for giving me the courage to fight for my health. There is a cure for everything. God bless. Heather from Marshfield, Wisconsin. 412-366-3700. 412-366-3700. Simkovich Concussion Institute. Get your life back. He's amazing. Sometimes it just stops there. This story is interesting about Trump. So we got some polling data coming up in the program regarding Trump in South Carolina, what he's doing to Nikki Haley in her own backyard. But before we get to that, I find this to be very interesting because I love the longitudinal thinking now of a growing core and a chorus of voices out there, conservative, MAGA voices, people who love this country, who believe in faith and freedom and family values. The people to whom the things I say are very commonplace. They are common sense. They are comfortable. And they are seeing that we need a plan. It's not just a stopgap. It's not a Band-Aid. It is something that needs to be a roadmap. And it's got to be fortified. It's got to be built. It's got to be strengthened. And there has to be a plan. And so this whole conversation about who Donald Trump is going to choose as his running mate, this is important. Now, Trump himself has downplayed the importance of this because he says commonly, I don't know why everybody's, so up in arms about this, because nobody votes for president based on who's number two. But he also is keenly aware of the fact that we have a long-term plan. And the long-term plan is not to give this back to the people who've destroyed so much of what makes America great. We plan to hold it. We plan to fix it. We plan to be here to steer it and to hopefully make the best choices moving forward for our country. So this New York Post article headline, here's Trump's short list for vice president. Some potential running mates may surprise you. I don't think so. I don't think this is surprising at all. Former President Donald Trump acknowledged Tuesday, so he was in a town hall with Laura Ingraham, Fox News, whatever, and acknowledged that at least 5 high-profile Republicans and 1 former Democrat are on his short list for potential running mates in the general election, including Ron DeSantis and one-time Democratic presidential primary candidate Tulsi Gabbard. GOP presidential frontrunner confirmed his shortlist after Fox News host Laura Ingraham rattled off a list of names at this town hall in Greenville, South Carolina, which she said the audience members deemed as good choices for him to tap for the vice presidency. Okay, here are the names. I don't find any of these shocking, but I do have a preferential frontrunner, 100%. So including Tulsi Gabbard, and Ron DeSantis, also Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, 100%. Vivek Ramaswamy and Kristi Noem. Now, I'm not down with Kristi Noem, got to be honest with you. I don't know much about her. I know she bubbles up at certain times. Okay, South Dakota's governor. Byron Donalds, to me, is a guy who would be perfect to carry on after 2028. I don't know what you guys think, but this is interesting. Are they all on your short list? Laura Ingraham asked Donald Trump. They are. They're all solid, he said. And I always say, I want people with common sense because there's so many things happening in this country that don't make sense. Isn't that refreshing? Even just that one line, that one statement, somebody who has good sense. You never realized what a commodity that was in somebody in representation, in somebody in government, in somebody in leadership, until you got on board with this ship of fools that you didn't buy a ticket to be a part of. And now you're stuck with it. Every single thing these people touch turns to dust. And this was the plan when Barack Obama, day number 1, what did he say? He had a vision that would fundamentally transform this country. Now, honest, hardworking people like you and I, people who are not nefarious, who are not corrupt, who don't rig elections, who don't suck, don't look at that statement in any other way other than here's a president who wants to make us better, not a guy who wants to destroy the very fabric of this country. And that's what Barack Obama was projecting. This new liberal world order. This idea that you have less and like it, that the government controls you, that the government knows everything about you. And because more and more Americans are awakening to the madness, we have a real opportunity here. And I think personally, Byron Donalds, to me, a businessman, a guy who understands fiscal responsibility, somebody who has had to negotiate at a top level with other people. Can you imagine Joe Biden negotiating? Can you imagine him even speaking on behalf of American values? Of course not. It's beyond comprehension. Trump said the first quality he's looking for in any potential running mate is their ability to be a good president. Because if something should happen, you need to have somebody who's going to be a great president. He added voters primarily care about who is on the top of the ticket rather than who the number 2 is. But he says the one thing that always surprises me is that the VP choice has absolutely no impact. It's whoever the president is, it just seems. He is saying, pay close attention to who he names number 2. Because he already knows he's got a finite amount of time to make a difference. Who knows what happens? That is going to be the pivotal decision going forward. It is not going to be Tim Scott. It is not going to be Vivek Ramaswamy. I just don't think so. A natural, logical, and you know what I say about Byron Donalds? It has absolutely nothing to do with him being black. It has to do with him being a patriot. With him being a common sense leader, a voice of reason, someone who has shown us repeatedly in Congress the way his brain works, what he feels about the values that you and I share. So we're going to be watching this. But when we come back, I want to talk about this. This USA Today story showing the slaughter that is coming for Nikki Haley in her home state, South Carolina, coming up this Saturday. And the question is, when does she bail? How does she do it? And does she even know how to do it? Because it's imminent. Blistering USA Today story coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. I think Vivek Ramaswamy would be fine in certain places. You know, I kind of want someone behind Donald Trump who's got knowledge of the machinations of Congress, who understands the whole Beltway bribery and blackmail outfit, who knows what it takes to get things maneuvered, and who's obviously well regarded. He was nominated to be Speaker of the House. He obviously has the respect of the Republicans. Brock, what do you think?
I agree. I've said him for a while now, and I really like him, and he understands. Donald Trump, I think, would tell you his biggest hurdle coming in the first time was his ability to navigate Washington, D.C.
Correct. He had a lot of cards against him.
And I think that Byron Donald's been there long enough. And I just like him too. He just seems very down to earth and very.
He's a guy. He's a guy like Ron DeSantis who has, I believe, younger kids. I could be talking out of my rump, but let me see. Byron Donalds.
And to go back to the original thing is
family.
I don't dream. I set goals.
3 sons.
And
sure,
I set goals. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's the whole, like,
that's another word for it.
Yeah. If you reach your goals, everything else is obtainable. And to me, 4,000 rumbles is a goal. 20,000 live views
You
every
kind
day
of have
is a goal.
yeah, you have a game you play every day.
Yes.
Yeah. See, the decisions that I make every day get me ever closer to that ultimate dream. So
Right.
that there's one day when Joe and I are looking at that real estate page and it's within reason and it's our grasp and it's our choice. Everything that I do from here on to that point is
Right.
on the way to that. From improving my own house so that when we sell it, we can maximize. Well, if we were in New York, I might, Letitia James, she doesn't like it when people overvalue, in her eyes, real estate. Oh my God. How about the businesses bailing out of New York? What a shite show. I want to tell you quickly, I've been using this. I got to say, it's like Photoshop for your face, right? Can you see? Now I have against my better judgment, I'm going to take off the filter for a second. I know, right? Let's see it. Let's see together if it looks terrible without the filter on. It's definitely different. You'll notice. All right. So it's off now. So you can tell I need to put makeup on, but look at this. It's all smooth because of Dr. John Lakey. All right, let me get back on because I can't stand myself looking at that. I look very 53. I want to look 49. There we go. Anyway, so he has developed this really cool, and I got to say, it's revolutionary what it does to fine lines and wrinkles, and it smooths out your skin. You don't need needles. You don't need a prescription, right? You don't need any kind of filler. It is something that topically you put on your skin before you put on your makeup. And I got to tell you, it's working. It works. And when I tell you that, I encourage you to go to see his video. It's actually a really well done video. It's annoying to sit there and know you've got to see the video to figure out what's at the end of it. But when I tell you what's at the end of it is worth it, you might be more inclined to watch the video because it explains how it works and why it's unlike other products that are out there, okay? So all I want you to do is go to BHMD1. That stands for Beverly Hills MD, BHMD1.com/Wendy. That's going to give you, this video has been seen more than 7 million times. 7.2 million when I checked yesterday. Okay? Take my word for it. I took the filter off. It was very unfortunate. There's nothing you can do about this, right? It is what it is when you're in your 50s. It's a bitch. BHMD1.com/Wendy. Take the time because it's educational. It's like the one on the from the guy, the veterinarian, the dog health video. It's really a great video. And you're like, I learned a lot. If you want to learn a lot, BHMD1.com/Wendy. Worth it. All right. So, Brock, how are you? See, oh, yes, I took it off. You can see. Look at that. Wow. That freaking filter, which is terrifying to me because Newsmax's camera is a higher quality camera, and it sits right above our little camera, which I can manipulate with the filter. Brock, you should say something that makes me feel better. No?
You don't look 53.
That's pretty good. 1.8. Thank you, guys. I'm going to drink my field of greens.
I had my bone broth, so I'm good.
I was worried, too.
I'm calling you at 4 p.m.
Are you? Because you're going to eat.
4:30.
72 hours? It's been 72 hours without food.
Yeah.
You know, I could do that.
When do you look like in your 30s? Let's not get out of control.
Yeah, that's nice, but we prefer honesty. Honesty.
Yeah. No fake news there.
It's okay. I know I don't, but I love you for that. So at this point, it kind of feels like Nikki Haley is this like atomic bomb on the RNC. She's just, right? And it's this giant energy suck, this money drain, all of this. And there's very interesting. There's a snarky, almost liberal personality underbelly that comes out in some of her comments. She seems very scripted and uncomfortable. Look, if I was running for president of the United States, it wouldn't be because I want an easy life, because it would be just hell, right? It would be because of one thing and one thing only. Love of country. Now, you don't need notes. You don't need a teleprompter. You don't need an overhead projector. You don't need bullet points. You don't. You don't need a cheat sheet. You don't need a ghost phone. You don't need pseudonyms. You don't need suspicious activity reports, wire transfers, et cetera, because it's baked into you. And it comes out in ways that oftentimes you're not prepared for. And if I was running for president, I would have to give into that and let it go and live in that moment always. That is the authenticity, I think, that people crave in somebody who would assume such a prominent role in our lives. That it is not about them. That it's not about an ego stroke. It's not about a paycheck. It's not about the book deals. It's not about becoming a gobs multi-millionaire many times over, because it's amazing how that happens. It's about that one thing, America. And I watched Nikki Haley, and she does not have it. And she got bad advice, and she believed that bad advice. And now you see people voting for her to vote against Donald Trump. Not necessarily Republicans, but people who will come in and try to mess things up in their own form of Operation Chaos. Well, it's not working. And the question is, how the hell does she get out? Like, how do you get out as the one woman who has used her double X chromosome profile as part of her stump shtick? You know, whether it's the high heels, right? Or it's, I've already beaten 12 fellas, I got one more to go. It's just, America is in crisis. We're really not here to worry about an individual's ego, personality, narcissism, or needs. We want somebody who knows the job, who's going to do the job. And there is nobody better equipped right now than Donald Trump. Whatever you think about the individual, and I happen to really like him. I do. And I have no excuse. I make no excuses for that. I'm proud to say that to you. I'm proud to say that when I looked Donald Trump in the eye and I shook his hand, I saw what you see every day when you see him. You don't see that other places. It is indescribable, and yet it leaves its fingerprints all over you. And the more you watch these lunatics who can't stand everything that he represents, the goodness, the justice, the common sense, the safety, the rationale, the strength on a global platform. They hate that he's got it and that you feel it and that we're all connected. I want you to hear this from USA Today. Here's your headline. Donald Trump trounces Nikki Haley in an exclusive South Carolina poll. This is USA Today. Donald Trump is poised to trounce Nikki Haley Saturday in her home state of South Carolina. An exclusive Suffolk University USA Today poll finds, with a yawning advantage that hasn't been diminished by the former president's controversies or legal travails. I want you to think about that. That is winning. And no votes were tallied. That's winning. And the establishment, the left, the whole group, the blob of suck that has caused so much harm in our country in so short a period of time. They hate that we love. They hate that we are united. And they hate that we are united in our love of America. Among those very likely to vote in the state's Republican primary, Trump leads Haley by close to 2-1. What? Everything they've thrown at this guy. It's like that open that we play. And Brock will probably play it in one of the hours coming forward. It's the guy saying, when are you going to learn? The more you indict, the more you unite, the more we unite. Woo, woo, wah, right? That's what he says. That's it. You cannot break that. You will not shake that. See, because we've been dragged through all of this, and we know who's at fault. It's not a mystery. We're not sitting in the shadows, scratching our heads, wondering what happened. This is so weird. We see every lousy vote. We hear every stupid triggered soundbite. We've identified the offenders. They do the same thing. It's the same game every day. Period. 63 to 35%. So the poll director, this guy is the director of the Suffolk University Political Research Center. And he said, look, the story of this poll is the depth of strength shown by Trump, regardless of what is thrown at him. And so I want you to hear a couple audio sound bites. Number one, this is Trump with Laura Ingraham at this town hall. And she asks him about this lead, and they bring up a graphic showing this 28% lead. And he says something very interesting about his thoughts on Nikki Haley. Go.
And just in time for your appearance today, there's a new Suffolk poll out just now a few days before the big primary. And among those very likely to vote, you're up over Nikki Haley by close to a 2-1 margin, 63 to 35. Yet today, she refused to step aside and said this.
Many of the same politicians who now publicly embrace Trump privately dread him. They know what a disaster he's been and will continue to be for our party. Some people used to say I was running because I really wanted to be vice president. I think I've pretty well settled that question.
Has she settled that question?
Well, I settled it about 3 months ago. And look, she's not working. She's here. She's down by 30, 35 points. And everybody knows her. You're not supposed to lose your home state. Shouldn't happen anyway. And she's losing it big. I mean, really, I said bigly and bigly.
We love it.
She's losing it bigly. Okay, so now Laura Ingraham talks about mail-in fraud. We all know what's going on. You know, how do you beat that? How do you fight back against this rampant, ridiculous mail-in corruption? Go.
How are you going to make sure that mail-in ballots and voter fraud, which we heard from a lot of people in line, was an issue front and center? They're very concerned about mail-in voting. So forget the past. What are you going to do to make sure we don't have problems going forward?
If you have mail-in voting you automatically have fraud. If you have
Okay, well, there's
I don't
mail-in
care.
voting in Florida,
That's
and you
right.
won huge.
That's right. If you have it, you're going to have fraud.
But you won.
Because you don't have any. When you go into a voting place, like you go into one in a properly run state, they look at you, they give voter ID, you give all sorts of identification. I mean, it would be very hard to cheat in a mass scale. When you send out millions, like California, I think they sent out 36 million ballots. They don't have a voting booth in the whole place. And then millions of ballots come back. Nobody knows where they're coming from.
Right, but what are you going to do about it?
The way you win is by swamping them. The way you win is by swamping them. You got to have, and we're going to swamp.
Now, I do not know what that means. Does that mean a massive get out and vote on election day? I don't think so. I don't think so. I am very curious what this means. Are we going to do what they do? Are we going to do what Craig Calloway, isn't that what his name is, Brock? The guy from New Jersey who was arrested, who'd been working with the FBI, the serial ballot harvester, the Dropbox filler? Are we going to play that game? I don't know. But this is a very interesting question from Laura Ingraham. And you have to ask why she's saying this. Why are you asking? You know, if it's just, there's so much going on around you. It's so crazy. It's so chaotic, which it always is by design. Why do you go through this? Why not just drop out and be a regular citizen? Just drop out. What? Listen.
You ever just say to yourself, you know, I'm done. This is what they. Why? A lot of people would have said, I'm going to come out. Why are you staying in this?
I can't because I want to make America great again. It's not great right now. And we can do that. We can do it. We can get it fixed. It's harder now. It would have been so much easier if we just finished off that. Everything would have been so perfect. We had the border set. Everything was set to rock and roll. We had no.
So you feel like you have an obligation to America.
I want to make America great again. It does not involve slogans. You do not have to have bells and whistles. There is no presentation. It is visceral. Do you want America back or not? And that's what he just sliced through. Now, we got to talk about this Letitia James. Boy, what a piece of work this woman is. She says she's willing to go after Trump's assets, seize his property, a skyscraper of his in Manhattan, if he can't pay his $355 million, which is really $450 million penalty. Listen to the voice of suck next on the Wendy Bell Radio program.
I think one of the best things he said, and I agree with him 100%. She asked him about a person there asked him about retribution. Mm-hmm. And his response is, my retribution will be success. That is the best way to piss somebody off.
That's his revenge.
In life
That's
in
what
general.
It is. Yes, absolutely.
If you win.
I don't have to go after you. I just have to separate myself from you. I will go be more successful. Right? And I think, Brock, that's a great point. Hey, quickly, I just switched to the Wildberry Brickhouse Nutrition Field of Greens. It is very good. This right here is something I strongly recommend. And I strongly recommend it regardless of your diet. I will tell you how I feel drinking Field of Greens, which has something like 25 different whole organic fruits and vegetables, each one specifically selected to benefit a part of your body, one of your operating systems, one of your organs, something like your hair or your nails. Everything in here is purposeful. It helps with digestion, which is huge for a lot of people. It makes you feel a certain way, focused, right? Can I tell you that this is sharpening my mind? I can't. I can only tell you what I think. When I don't drink it, I feel differently. I do. And if you've never tried Field of Greens, 15% off your first order by using the promo code Wendy. Fieldofgreens.com. Promo code Wendy. Lots of different flavors, and it's simple. You just put a scoop in water, shake it up, and enjoy.
It does last a while, too.
It lasts. It lasts. So you yourself or someone in your life, particularly someone who might be struggling, this is cold and flu season, might be struggling with, maybe they're going through chemotherapy and their body is just getting ravaged by these chemicals. Field of Greens is a lovely and thoughtful gift. Drink a scoop of this a day, twice a day. Tell me how you feel. Tell me how your hair grows back. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code Wendy.
So on the Rumble, BN Doug 66 says, yes, go be successful. People also need to be held accountable as well. Let me tell you about successful people. I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded by them. You don't have to worry about holding them accountable. The majority of successful people hold themselves accountable and they do the right thing. So
I'm not so sure that person is talking about successful people being held accountable. I'm thinking they're saying holding people accountable who suck.
No, that too.
I think that's where that was my interpretation of that comment, but I could be completely off base.
You think Field of Greens would be part of the health benefit package here?
I feel for the Black community in certain ways. And I feel strongly that there are a lot of poor representatives of the Black community who seem to be in the spotlight right now. People who do not represent honorable values. They're the wrong heroes. The same way George Floyd was the wrong person to galvanize a movement around. He was not a good person, period. He had made a million bad decisions. And those bad decisions ultimately led to his death. And I'm not going to litigate that again, but he's not the guy the Black community should be idolizing or propping up in some capacity. We really know what that was all about. It was a movement at a very specific time on purpose, right? This Letitia James, this attorney general in New York, she is a piece of work. She's on par with Fani Willis. There is this attitude that is rooted in an underdog mentality. And it bubbles forward in the ugliest and most inconvenient ways. Now, nobody here can say that penalizing Donald Trump for a crime that wasn't a crime, that didn't happen, for hurting people who were never victimized. There was nobody who was injured by what Letitia James says Donald Trump did with his business. What he did with his business is what I would do as a cyber shopper of overpriced real estate in Florida would do when valuing my home here in Pennsylvania in order to move to Florida. Well, I certainly wouldn't kneecap myself. I wouldn't lowball it. You go to the top and you say, well, you've got to presume there's going to be some kind of negotiation, some kind of wiggle room, give and go. That is the way it's always been done. But according to Letitia James, Donald Trump doing that is beyond the pale. It is actionable. It is in some capacity illegal and worthy of $450 with interest, $450 million in penalties. It's crazy. And we all know it's crazy. But her attitude about it is very unsavory as she tramples on the very document called our Constitution. You can't defend this any more than Fani Willis can defend her actions. Any more than Alvin Bragg can defend his actions. Any more than Karine Jean-Pierre is a noteworthy representation of the Black community as she's an abysmal and abject failure at her job. It's embarrassing. These people are the wrong choices. But you need to hear this. Letitia James, leftist tyrant. Letitia James threatens to seize President Trump's assets if he can't pay outrageous court fine ordered by Judge Engoron a New York civil fraud trial. Now, I won't get into the idea that, and this story is floating around out there, that in a prior trial, Judge Engeron has been reportedly accused of sleeping with a secretariat clerk or opposing counsel, something of that nature, that this guy himself ain't squeaky clean. But boy, he's happy to, without a jury, with gagging Donald Trump, with preventing his defense from presenting certain avenues of evidence, and basically handcuffing him in his courtroom. This is so beyond reality. It is punitive for daring to love America. And Letitia James, she made some comment about how if you want to take down a monster, you want to do something big, you got to give it to a woman to do. That's offensive to me. Look, I don't think you guys pay attention to what I do on this program because I'm a woman. You don't say, you know what? I feel like women need more of a shot. I'm going to listen to her instead of somebody else. You listen because you understand me and we connect and we share this thing together that doesn't need definition. Letitia James saying that she will go after Donald Trump's assets and happily sees one of his skyscrapers, to me, is necessary. You need to see how far crazy will go. Because once crazy gets a little bit of power and there's a spotlight on it, it goes to the end. And they need to implode. I'm going to try to find one of her sound bites because it's gross. Here it is. We are prepared to make sure that the judgment is paid to New Yorkers. And yes, I will get 40 Wall Street each and every day. That's one of his buildings. Last I checked, tourism is up, she says. Wall Street is doing just fine, as there have been calls among Kevin O'Leary and other business owners out there to get the hell out of New York. In fact, just about, 20 hours ago or so, the CEO of Cardone Capital, a guy named Grant Cardone, ordered his underwriters to immediately discontinue all underwriting on New York City real estate following that $355 million judgment against Trump. Quote, the risk outweighs the opportunities at this time. They've got billions. Their portfolio is billions and billions of dollars. And Letitia James, standing up there smugly, thinking that she has scored a political victory, is flushing New York State down the toilet. You've got migrants in, you've got big business moving out. That is not a recipe for success, my friends. Coming up on the program, we're going to go there even more because really one of the pinnacle American companies, the nation's oldest gun maker, is leaving New York for Georgia. They're tapping out. We got the story coming up next on the Wendy Bell radio program. You know, as a mom, and I don't know what it is, I think it's probably being on airlines. Somebody in our house always gets sick after we've taken a trip, and I guarantee you it's the air on the airplane. It has to be, right? No matter where we go or what we do, there's always something that somebody gets sick from, and that's why I found this emergency travel kit by the wellness company. This is the Peter McCullough started group. I find this very alluring to have a little doctor's black bag. Remember when they used to make house calls and they all had the black bag and then there was the stethoscope? Like imagine that, but obviously much more streamlined now. And it contains 6 of these medications that you could possibly need in a pinch on the road somewhere in another place with your family. And it's an emergency wellness kit, essentially, for your family. So this is what's in it. 6 prescription medications, essential over-the-counter meds, a comprehensive guidebook, and even medical supplies. This travel emergency kit ensures that you have peace of mind and the best care available to you wherever you go, so you can sit back and enjoy your journey. Now, this isn't so you can be a doctor, but it's so you can be prepared. And you can get this by going to the wellness company, twc.health/Wendy. twc.health/Wendy. You're going to save 10% off at checkout. And this is what we do. We fight for truth and access to supplies that we need. Now, it does come with a prescription, and that's all managed through this website. But talk about, I think, something super worthwhile, right? twc.health/Wendy. You guys got to try this Photoshop for your face, though. Telling you. Brock was just commenting. He said, gosh, you know what? You are very beautiful. And I said, thank you. Thank you, I am. Thank you. Nothing? Nothing?
I don't think I even need to say anything. I think...
that's funny.
I think we all know.
Yes, we do. And isn't that a sad, sad indictment of where we are? I might actually go to the bathroom. You guys were on pins and needles wondering. I'm going to check our status and see how it goes, because I had said to you guys that I wasn't going to browbeat you, and I will not.
Not bad.
You guys are doing great, and I love you.
We
what?
do...
Hold on. What'd you say?
Nothing.
You said but, and I was getting up. So what were you saying?
I was going to say, but we still haven't reached 4K.
Noted.
Wow.
Noted.
This is this New York stuff is ridiculous. You're going to lose a lot of tax revenue. You know, look at all the people who can't survive. Restaurants can't survive on immigrants. They can't survive if the hotels are full with it. The hotels right now are basically getting subsidized by the taxpayer, by the federal government, who are paying these people to stay here. It's just not sustainable. You need businesses to offer services, not just taxes, services also, you know, and you're cutting police. It's just not sustainable, you know, and quit voting these idiots in. The Chuck Schumers need to go. They don't understand business. I don't think they understand taxes. They obviously don't have any fiscal responsibility. No one in Congress does. Even the people that say they're fiscally responsible. You guys are signing bills that send taxpayer money all over the place when you have crumbling infrastructure. I mean, we stopped talking about things because the news cycle moves so fast, but what about Flint, Michigan? Do these people these people probably still don't have clean water? So government is, they're there for show. And they don't care about you. And I think that's what's waking people up. They're starting to see that they don't care about you. You know, Joe Biden can get supported by the union.
The unions don't want him either.
The union is the government in itself. The people who work for the union don't necessarily back union management. Just like the citizens don't back Washington, you know, and Washington's its own cesspool. These people don't leave Washington. They come out every 2 to 4 years and say, hey, vote for me. But they don't have a pulse of the American people. And the sad thing is because they watch CNN and they go on CNN and they keep getting that positive reinforcement from the Mockingbird media.
Ooh, I like this. Byron Donald's wife is super cute. Her name is Erica, and she is a. I want to show. I'm not going to show you, but it
You
says.
Oh, you're not in StreamYard.
It says that she is an American conservative education activist.
Good for her.
Right on. That's somebody I'd invite to my cocktail party.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Saying education, these Democrats don't want you to leave your zip code. Why? You're hindering people from getting a good education because you don't want them to leave their zip code. I mean, failing schools are going to continue to fail if you let them.
Right.
And you keep funding them, and they keep funding them. To me, this is common sense. To you, this is common sense.
Indeed. You know, this is whatever. I have to pronounce this word. I don't know how.
Oh.
3, 2, 1. Wendy Bell. Inspiring solutions to save America, one show at a time. Are you ready to get on board?
When are you guys gonna learn? The more you indict, the more we unite. Facts. It's Trump 2024. We don't care. You heard me? We already made our mind up. You already know when the hood got your back. Man, they deep in the hood. Gangsters hollering about Trump 2024. You heard me? Whoop, whoop. Wah. Gangsters. The hood got this man back. I'm just trying to tell you. You heard me? And we ain't stupid, man, American people, man. We ain't all them talking about lockdowns and back when the masks and all that. You know, they got a new virus coming and it's gonna be, man, nobody don't care. Ain't fooling nobody no more with none of that. You know, new jack, man, nobody being fooled no more. We all the way up, you heard me? It's Trump 2024. That's what it's gonna be, cause we ain't having nothing else.
From sea to shining sea, 3 hours of bold truth and excellence. The Wendy Bell Radio Program.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Wendy Bell Radio Program. Remember the podcast, Wendy Bell Radio, wherever you get your favorite material. I think you're really going to like it. It's just super easy to take with you wherever you go and join our army. 2 million downloads strong, on our way to 3. So thank you. We so appreciate you. You know, I lived in New York for 1 year. And if I were to tell you it was a great experience, I'd be lying to you. The fact of the matter is I was broke. And it was my first job out of graduate school. It was a big deal. I got hired out of 1,500 people. I got hired to be a traveling reporter for American Journal, which was a sister show to Inside Edition. And so our station, our company headquarters, King World Productions, was at 76th and 1st. And I found a 5th floor walk-up, a studio, tiny, up the street at 81st and York. And I made $32,000 a year. 1994. After taxes, after all of this stuff was taken out of my pay, I had $800 every 2 weeks. $800 to pay the rent. That's what I paid. That was a steal. And $800 a month for utilities, for food, for everything. I could not have done it. I had to sell my car in order to pay for the trip. Meaning, I moved myself. It wasn't part of the deal. Now, the good part about this job was that I traveled. So I went all around the country. I got to see beautiful places. I got to see Cheyenne, Wyoming. I get to go and see Carmel in Monterey, California. I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was in Daytona Beach, Florida. We were all over the country. And when I was on the road, I could eat whatever I wanted. When I got back home for the last 2 weeks of the month, I had to scrape by, and it was tough. And I relied on care packages from my parents from Hickory Farms. Swear to God. So my feelings about New York, it's the ultimate place if you have money. But when you don't, it is a very difficult place. It's got all of those things, and you're the person proverbially standing through the outside the glass with your nose pressed against it, looking in, knowing that it ain't yours. What's happening now, though, is the systematic push of big business, of historic family-owned business, of industry leaving New York. And it's heartbreaking. You couple that with this influx of people, 40,000 in just the last year that Greg Abbott has bussed, shipped, flown, whatever the hell he's done to get them out of Texas, and he sent them to New York. And you see the New York government, Kathy Hochul, Eric Adams, all of the machinations of Democrat suck, give preference to strangers who have not been vetted, who have not contributed to this country, who may or may not, I don't know, but all at the detriment of the citizens. You have MS-13 gang members now going toe-to-toe with Venezuelan gangs because those people have been allowed to cross the border. And then hanging dangerously in the balance is just the fabric of common sense life for people who used to love the state. This is a direct slap in the face to Letitia James, who boasted that the verdict for Donald Trump and her prosecution of him for a crime that didn't happen to victims who don't exist wasn't changing the bottom line of New York City. She's wrong. And I've got this for you. Headline: New York Village losing its soul as the nation's oldest gun manufacturer flees blue state for Georgia. This is the Remington gun factory. These people have been there for more than 200 years. Do you know what a loss? I mean, I remember when the General Motors plant in Lordstown, Ohio stopped everything and the community became a ghost town. Restaurants closed, barbershops closed. And now there's a figment of its former self. You have a business that is the heartbeat of a zip code and it decides to leave. That's no small potatoes, Ms. James. The Remington Gun Factory, nestled in New York's Mohawk Valley, is ready to shutter its doors and move to Georgia after more than 200 years in the Empire State. 208 years of history gone, said the mayor of Ilion, New York. I hope I pronounced that right. I just tried to, let me hear. I'm even going to bring it up and see if I can make sure I can pronounce this right. Here we go. Ready? Ilion. Who have not contributed. Okay, Ilion. I got it now. So this business that has been here forever and ever and ever, it's not tenable anymore. We don't want to be here. Taxes are too high. You don't represent our values. It's punitive. See you later. We're going to go to a red state where the taxes are better, where the people are nicer, where the streets are safer, where it feels like the America we used to know. Isn't that the story? You're seeing a split. And the people who are stuck back in the suck are being flushed down the toilet with the zip codes. Remington is the nation's oldest gun manufacturer. And they told union officials late last year the company chiefs at Rem Arms, the current version of Remington Arms, made the decision to end its New York manufacturing starting next month. The remaining operations located there will move to Georgia, where company leaders say the firearms industry is supported and welcomed. Full stop. That's it. This is not a difficult concept. I am not going to beat my head against the wall anymore. It is not worth it. We are willing to close up and go through the hassle of packing everything we have in moving it south to Florida because we believe the opportunity there is worth the risk. And we don't even see a risk. Residents of the New York Village, which is located roughly 230 miles northwest of New York City, obviously are devastated. They're bracing for the manufacturer to officially move. And they say it's going to take the town's identity with it. When Remington leaves, it's not going to be like a facility leaving. It's going to be like part of your family has moved off, said a gentleman who used to work at Remington, began his career there in 1964. And this gentleman who's quoted, he works there. His wife works there. His daughters work there. His son-in-law worked there. And his parents worked there. Done. Over. The closure of the New York location will result in about 300 people losing their jobs in a town of roughly 7,600. Also, it's going to be $1 million in lost revenue. See, Letitia James, in her rabid tunnel vision, in her one goal and one goal only mentality to destroy Donald Trump, why? Why? I'd love to ask her, what is it? Really? You really think he's bad for America? You really think he's bad for business? You really think a man who has built his own global empire is bad for America? What happened to you, Letitia? Every single door was opened. They fell over themselves to give you the opportunity, and still, you suck. And the ripple effect isn't just going to be in Manhattan. It's not just going to be on Wall Street. When these businesses move, the tax base shrinks, the services are still necessary. How is it going to be affordable to be a New Yorker and live in New York? These decisions from Judge Engoron or others, Tanya Chutkin, they don't operate in a vacuum. Trump derangement syndrome is not a defense for doing things that hurt everybody. And this is what you get from Barack Obama's transformation, don't you know? When we come back, I have this. It's not just, by the way, it's not just New York. I got something for you in Chicago, Illinois, California. How many red states are getting flushed? Or blue states, rather. Listen to this next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Got the volume up. I've got chiming dings. And
someone was texting you during the show.
No, actually, it wasn't. It was one of those stupid Macy's having a sale. Like, okay, can you tell me about that at noon? Work around me. It's all about
Don't they
me.
know it's about Wendy Bell?
Thank you.
I get it.
At least we're all on the same page here. I saw something today, and I wanted to say this to you. I sent it to Brock first thing in the morning because I wanted to save it. And you know, we talk about Texas Bullion Exchange, texasbullion.com. I saw something. Where is it? Here we go. Gold could soar to $3,000. This is on Newsmax Money. Gold could soar to $3,000. What? Currently, it's at $2,016 an ounce. Could surge by 50%, particularly if this global recession, a lot of people think we're already in, happens. That's huge. So when you say to yourself, you know what, honey, I think we should diversify with our portfolio. We're pretty heavy on the stocks and the bonds. Why don't we bring some precious metals into it? Now, when I say that, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. Have no idea. That's why I have texasbullion.com. That's why you call 855-927-5557. You say, hey, I need help, right? I'm saving for the future. I want to do it right. And I'm feeling pretty good about precious metals. Help me out. And they will help you. Use my name, Wendy, and you make a certified coin purchase like this, and you'll save 10%. Silver, gold, palladium, platinum, doesn't matter. Great investments, greater company. Texas Bullion Exchange, texasbullion.com. You're just going to like them. They're so nice. So nice. And they talk to you like you're not a dullard, which I appreciate. Because I'm like, I have no idea. I just don't want to screw it up for my kids. I don't want to make a mistake. You won't make a mistake with Texas Bullion. I'm looking at these pictures here. A picture of this guy at Remington Arms Co. Assembling firearms in 1917. Gone. Bye. It's so devastating. And yet she stands there and like clucks and fluffs up her chest like she's doing something.
What they don't get, and they should watch what's happened to communities that had car plants.
Oh God, that's why I brought up Lordstown.
Jobs are going away, which means housing prices are going to go down because you don't have anything. And this leads all the way back to AOC getting their panties in a bunch with Amazon. You lost what, $15,000, 15,000 jobs,
right?
Once again, these people don't understand business and taxes. And you said about Donald Trump building a global brand. It's not easy to build a brand.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration.
Oh heavens, yes.
You know, and part of it's doing the right thing. You know,
there's so many legal hoops you've got to go through too. It's just punishing.
Yeah,
I'm sassy today, guys. Sorry.
Trademarking. There's
copywriting.
It was just like I said. The
create
fact
an
that
LLC. You want to separate your business from your life because if something goes sideways, you don't want them to be able to take your house.
Right.
Oh, what?
You want to do the right thing because one bad step can ruin the brand.
Yes.
It's just, it's not easy.
This thing that we're going to play for you from Chicago. Is anybody surprised that businesses are leaving? They're bailing San Francisco. There's going to be no tax base left.
None.
See ya. You can't survive. Look, this destruction of beautiful, historic cities in this country that are traditionally, historically Democrat run. It is breathtaking. I'm not sitting here thinking this is funny. It's tragic. It's tragic. I want you to hear this news report. This is from Chicago. And this follows on the heels of every business that has left, say, San Francisco. It's now ridiculous. What does Charles Barkley say? You can't even go and walk around there anymore. It's so freaking unsafe. Well, Chicago is the same. New York is on its way. Listen to this.
Food restaurants are closing their doors.
This news came abruptly. It shocked area residents. It's left them concerned about the future of the local economy. Casey Crone is live with the latest. Casey.
Don and Scott, all 3 KFC restaurants are owned by the same franchisee. The move comes as a disappointment to neighbors and also one local alderman who tells me he was blindsided by those closures. The restaurants are located at 83rd and King Drive in Chatham, where renovations have been underway for several months. Now progress has stopped, the windows and doors boarded up. Also in Grand Crossing, the KFC at 75th and Lafayette will no longer serve customers, and in Bronzeville, the chain at 35th and Calumet has been shuttered. This comes less than 1 month after the movie theater Cinema Chatham shut down. 6th Ward Alderman William Hall tells me these closures are a loss for the community, leaving employees out of work and corners vacant.
Well, to the entire 6th Ward, my frustration is your frustration. We share the same frustration. I live here. I don't want to see abandonment. I don't want to see vacancy, just like you. Working hard with corporations. We are some challenging times, however. We're going to, again, look to the future. Hopefully we find or reimagine our corner, even if it means tearing down that KFC and building a new business. But we're not going to stop until that vacancy is filled.
Feel blindsided? How do you feel blindsided? You're Democrats. You voted for this crap. Did you not look in your in your crystal ball and see unsafe streets, rampant drug use, crime that goes unpunished? Who wants to go there? And so this alderman, he's like, I'm going to fight. No, you're not, bro. You're not going to fight because you're part of the problem. It's not working. How about this headline? New York Post. New York loses $1 trillion in Wall Street business as firms flee the city. Why are they leaving? What is the common denominator? Well, it's the fundamental difference between conservatives and liberals. Conservatives believe in your ability to run your life. They believe the government should stay the hell out of it. They believe that you shouldn't be burdened by outrageous taxes and that a small government that is representative of the people is preferred over a bloated bureaucracy. How about liberals? They believe they should meddle in every daggone thing that you do. They create rules and regulations and taxes and forms and busy work and all sorts of that stuff to bog you down, to break you so that you're finally at that point where you say, I'm done. Just you take over. You run my life for me. I'll never say that. Ever. $1 trillion, a giant sucking sound, as we speak, is coming out of Wall Street. It is siphoning staggering sums of money out of the Big Apple while handing business to Florida and to Tennessee and to the Carolinas and to Texas. Trillion dollars. Nearly 160 Wall Street firms have moved their headquarters out of New York since the end of 2019, taking nearly $1 trillion in assets under management with them. This is according to data from 17,000 companies, and this was compiled by Bloomberg. Or is anybody out there going, oh, I mean, the $1 trillion is giant. But this is a government that willy-nilly will spend $3.5 trillion on a faux emergency that they fan the flames to freak you out and spend more money that we don't have. These are the same people who think that the check to Ukraine should be limitless. Don't even sign it. Don't fill it in, or sign it, but don't fill it in. We'll tell you what we need. Are you guys really down with that? This exodus, you're going to see the people left in these blue cities, burdened, taxed into oblivion. Does Letitia James not see that? They don't care. They don't care. That is undeniable. So when we come back, we got to talk about this playbook, this whole threat to democracy. If Donald Trump wins, it'll be the last election we ever have. Really? Because that's so familiar. And we're going to take you back to 1948. You guys heard of Mike Benz? Because you're going to hear from him coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Ooh, I don't know which I like better now. We got to get the lemonade one.
The strawberry lemonade.
Yeah. I need to actually get off the dime and get the corporate card out. Get us more coffee. And get us each some.
I just said that.
Field of greens.
And you gave me a look like I was crazy.
Well, you're not a shareholder, so I'm not really sure that matters.
No corporate meetings for me.
Sucks to be you. Hey, the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh, would you travel? Would you relocate for a period of time if doing so allowed the bulging or herniated, I have to say it that way, bulging or herniated disc in your back or your neck to regenerate and heal itself? Would you would you temporarily relocate to go through a pretty intense program of therapy, not surgery, therapy, for that to happen? I would. Not everybody can, but a lot of people would. And a lot of people do. The Disc Institute of Pittsburgh, this is the guy, Dr. Richard Rafferty, who heals you and doesn't saddle you with the post-operative debacle that comes with surgery, because it's non-surgical. It's called intradisc neutrosis. Super, super effective, almost 100%, 98%. And 5 years later, when patients are asked, how are you doing? 96% say they're doing just as well as they were doing before, after the surgery, right? 412-906-9600. 412-906-9600. If it's true that 8 out of 10 people at some point in their lifetime are going to suffer from some spinal related issue, I'm thinking that Doc Rafferty is a guy you want in your Rolodex. 412-906-9600.
I can't buy stock
In the company.
It's not public.
That's true.
No,
but you can in your own 401k.
It's not public.
Isn't that nice of me? Isn't that nice? Isn't that like caring and hey?
I don't have any money for
we're
401k.
all in this together.
$4 a month. There's no money in 401k.
Well, maybe you need to be more of a budgeting guy. I don't know. No.
You know, what are you going to do? Got to live. Unbelievable.
No.
See, that's what she's liberal in that way. Keep the man down.
Right. You know, because being a woman has opened so many doors for me. Like the sky's the limit. So I'm going to discriminate against you. I find like my shoulders are lopsided because my shirts always end up going like that. And I kind of don't want that. So if you see me foostering, that's why. I'm not a symmetrical body. I know. We were all questioning. Feel my pain.
I'm curious what the stock opens up at.
Is that right? Certainly not in a preposition, but can't do it all day. All right, so this Mike Benz guy.
Love him.
Wowzer. He's like he's one of those guys where if you were going to be in a hostage situation and you were going to be away for a year from people and you just needed somebody to be with, he'd be your guy. Because he could talk the whole time and you could learn and you'd be like, he's super interesting. Did you guys see his Tucker Carlson?
I'm gonna put that on the locals page.
Yes, thank you so much. I wanted you to do that. It's almost like I had asked for that. That's good.
I'll just put the link up.
That's a lot of you. It's all good. So you've lost what, 5 pounds so far? I think when it's all, are you going to weigh yourself before you eat something? See what the total drop was? So he's been fasting for 3 days. And the end of 72 hours comes at 4:00 this afternoon. So as of last night, you said you had lost 5 pounds? 7. Wow. So 7 this morning?
Yeah.
That's pretty remarkable. Holy cow. I wonder if I could do that.
You don't need to.
I sure could.
No.
Oh my gosh. Everybody could. I would be more interested in sort of resetting, like the factory reset of the body.
That's what I said. Like for one of these 3 days, I was reading on it, and like it's not something I would do that often. But they say the inflammation in your body goes down. You get a clarity, which I told you this morning. That who knows if it's the placebo effect. But
you said you feel good.
I do.
Sharp.
And they say after 48 hours, it goes to the cellular level where your cells start regenerating. So, hey, who knows? 3 days is not that big of a deal. I will recommend that bone broth, and doing it with a friend makes it a lot easier.
I don't know if I could do it. I bet you I could.
You don't have friends.
But I am going to a Penguin game alone.
Nice of that guy to invite you.
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program, my friends. We are, as always, thrilled to spend time with you. Now, this is one of those reasons why I strongly suggest you join our locals page, locals.com, search Wendy Bell Radio, and you will find us. You do not have to pay anything to be a part of it. But what we do is, for those who do want to contribute something, we share something very special. And that is the rundown of every single show, every link that I talk about, every resource that we have been digging through to find for you, every interview, all of it at your fingertips, all of the links there at Wendy Bell Radio on our locals page. Now, did you see Mike Benz? He is the executive director of this place called the Foundation for Freedom. And he is a World Book Encyclopedia. I mean, he's crazy. He's not crazy. He's very smart and knowledgeable. And he's known for doing these videos. It looks like he lives in Florida. And he does these videos where he just walks around and he just has like 10, 15-minute conversations about something that totally makes your face melt off. And this particular one we're going to play for you is, and this is all piggybacking off of his sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson. It was an hour and 8 minutes, and we've put that link on our locals page for you guys to get there. It is truly one of those things where you have to have no distractions because there's so much information. But he said something in a video posted yesterday that we thought was very interesting. And it was in a rebuttal to this Liz Cheney statement. You got all these different people on the left who are parroting the same idea about this threat to democracy, that Donald Trump represents an existential threat to democracy. They don't even know what that means. They just know that it's what they've been told to say. And Liz Cheney got the talking points as a pretend Republican, but we know who she is. And she's been saying this. She started saying this around the holidays, and it's continuing. In the Daily Beast right now, I've got a headline. Liz Cheney warns, etc., that Donald Trump's reelection would be a threat to democracy. This Mike Benz, who's excruciatingly knowledgeable about geopolitics and about history, takes us back to the formation of the CIA and to the first time that the CIA meddled in an election. It wasn't here. It was in Italy, he says. And he says this is a dirty playbook that we know very, very well. He claims this attack on democracy, calling Donald Trump a dictator, an authoritarian, claims that this is going to be the last election if Donald Trump wins, is very purposeful. And if you recognize it by being aware of history, it is less likely to con you into believing it. Listen to Mike Benz. Go.
This attack on democracy, dictator, authoritarian thing. And especially this framing of it being the last election if we don't stop it. Now, you have to recognize the trick here and go all the way back to the beginning. The framing techniques they're using right now are the same ones used in 1948 at the very dawn of the creation of the Central Intelligence Agency to create a predicate for dirty tricks. I'll talk about what those dirty tricks are going to be, but just a quick history lesson here. The CIA was created under the 1947 National Security Act, and the very first thing it did to rig an election overseas was to rig the 1948 Italian election, which was the first democratic election after World War II. You know, after Mussolini had been gored, and suddenly Italy was torn between a Euro-Atlanticist, Western-backed political candidate for president and a Soviet-backed, communist-sympathetic president. And the Central Intelligence Agency, with support from the State Department and certain private interests, and certain interests within Italy itself, ranging from the Sicilian mob, who our national security state had partnered with because they were persecuted by Mussolini. So Italian street muscle was used as a sort of makeshift resistance movement within Italy. We kept those networks with the underground and with media institutions and propaganda institutions. We we bribed, cajoled, stuffed ballot boxes, the whole dirty works that you could possibly do. And George Kennan wrote, he's one of the godfathers of the CIA, he wrote a memo after this happened. It's called The Inauguration of Organized Political Warfare, published later that year in 1948, where he explains the logic of it and basically, writes a letter essentially to the intelligence community saying, listen, we're in the business of dirty tricks now. After World War II has ended, because if we don't do dirty tricks, the Bolsheviks will, and these dirty tricks work. And he goes on to explain that the problem is if the communist candidate had won the presidency there in Italy, then there would be no elections in Italy again, possibly. So we had to rig this one. We had to stuff ballot boxes. We had to work with the mob to bust up any pro-Soviet meetings that were happening in Italy. We had to use street muscle. We had to go dirty using CIA tricks to rig the election because it might be the last election ever if we don't. CIA tricks to rig the election because it might be the last election ever if we don't.
So there is the story going back, 80 years almost? 70 odd years? To one of the first things the CIA did was to go meddle with and basically steal an election. And to do so under that do-goodery, right? Which is so baked into everything the progressive movement of suck is all about. This overarching emotion drive, right? If you can't win on facts because what you're doing factually is lunacy, well, you've got to create this, but we're such good people. We've got to do this because if we don't, then blank. It's very narcissistic. It's gross, right? And he talks about these street mobs. You need to have these thugs. And by the way, one more time, the word thug is not only about certain kinds of people. Thuggish behavior does not know a racial description. But what is he talking about with these like goons who helped them? What's Black Lives Matter? What's Antifa? What are these rogue groups? Jane's Revenge. Ruth Sent Us, right? That's what this is. It is the same playbook from just after the war. And they're bringing it out yet again, and they have. It's the only one they have. Mike Benz, you're listening to Mike Benz. He is the executive director of the Foundation for Freedom, a scholar. And he says this was their predicate for fraud, creating the illusion that if we don't act now, then all democracy is going to be lost. And isn't that so familiar? Go.
So it was a predicate used to establish a protocol around doing things that you're not normally allowed to do in an election cycle if someone poses an existential threat to, the system of governance that they call democracy. Now, we saw this happen in 2020. For example, the Transition Integrity Project, which was this 65-person, hugely influential group of people. This included Donna Brazile, the former head of the DNC, Michael Steele, the former head of the RNC, so the two most recent heads of both major political parties, as well as about 60-some officials from the Department of Defense, the Department of State, the intelligence community, and then other cluster networks around everything from journalism to champions of industry. And they had a role-play simulation about how to overturn the 2020 election. This is in June 2020, 5 months before the election happened, about how they could overturn the election if Trump won to save democracy and make sure that he would not be able to have a second term. They had simulation 3. I've posted this a million times, but I'll put it in the thread below. They did 4 simulations. In simulation number 3, John Podesta personally played a role-playing role of Joe Biden. John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager and now runs the largest pot of money in the entire federal government, a $370 billion slush fund for energy projects. He personally role-played the role of Joe Biden And what did they do? It was in this role play. It was dirty tricks. The simulation went as follows. If Trump won a quote, clear victory at the Electoral College, but had lost the popular vote, they were going to mobilize Black Lives Matter street muscle. They wrote this. Mobilize Black Lives Matter street muscle and use their anger to essentially become a pro-Biden anarcho-tyranny force that would shut down the country as a color revolution does in Serbia or in Tunisia or as the CIA organizes abroad.
Doesn't it make sense? Now, there's a lot going on there. Mike Benz, B-E-N-Z, one of these people you need to follow. Because it all makes sense, of course. This role-playing. So 5 months before the election in June of 2020, they've got it all laid out. How is this different than Event 201 by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Pfizer, and the World Economic Forum doing a pandemic training, a pandemic preparedness response, such and such? This was, if I'm not mistaken, October of 2020, right before COVID. Isn't it so gross when you go back in time and you see how you can connect the dots and they're not even ashamed to hide it. They put it out there in front of you so you can see it because they're so damn confident that they're going to get away with it. Which is why what Donald Trump said when speaking with Laura Ingraham yesterday at that South Carolina town hall. What do you do about mail-in ballot fraud? We've got to outdo them. We have to out-hustle them. We have to outstuff them. Is that what this has come to? Feels like it. I mean, honestly, does anybody out there truly, if you're being intellectually honest, does anybody out there really think that Joe Biden won? Joe Biden, who can't fill a room, who can't walk up the steps? Another tragic episode yesterday of him losing to the short steps on Air Force One. Does anybody actually believe there was some kind of fervor for that guy? Of course not. It was planned. It was planned using the same toolbook, the same guidebook, the same high school musical that I talk about so commonly, because you know all of the acts. When we come back on this program, so for 2024, they obviously need the propaganda. They need the mouthpieces to go out with this threat to democracy. It's an existential threat. If Donald Trump wins, we'll never have another election. Well, just right on cue. Those people step forward into the spotlight. I got it for you next.
Sorry, my program froze.
Oh, yeah, not a problem. I was just worried, and I didn't know if I had to stall, so I ended up jumping all over it. Sorry, guys.
They can't tell.
Hmm.
It's only the radio people.
So Morgane's Fitness. Morgane's Fitness. Why do I like Morgane's Fitness? You know, sort of like Brock.
Uh-oh.
This is the second time now that he's tried this fast. We're always in this elusive search for fitness, for a quick fix, for a change, doing something that feels like we're taking action for our bodies. And it's hard to do. Life is busy. It's complicated, right? But you ultimately get to a point where you stop making excuses and you do it. And you're looking in the mirror and you're like, I'm tired of feeling this way and I'm tired of looking this way. And so I'm going to take action. If you are fortunate enough to live near Morgane's Fitness in Somerset and Cambria counties in Western Pennsylvania, and you're not a part of that facility and you're not in contact with Kelly Morgan, you're missing out in a big way, because this is the door that opens up that makes sense to you. You learn how to do all of these things to take control of your wellness. And she's the gal. The staff is they're the folks to do it. Morgain's Fitness, Morgainz Fitness. They have all of the plate loaded machines, the Nautilus stuff, the free weights. They've got the indoor track. They've got the ellipticals, the treadmills, but they have a certain vibe there. It's our kind of people. You're going to feel comfortable there. You're going to feel welcome there. And you're going to learn how to take control of your health. So, I don't know why you wouldn't. Got to make the time. Take the time to get stronger. Morgainsfitness.com. I think Mike Benz is fascinating.
I do too. I would highly recommend watching
Tucker.
that hour.
Yeah.
And don't just give yourself an hour to watch it. Give yourself an hour and a half, because there's times where you're going to have to hit
stop
pause,
it. And you're like,
rewind, be like, no, he didn't say that.
What was that? Yeah. Brock is absolutely right this time. So we have 3 quick sound bites for you guys here, but I love them.
Yeah, it backs up everything he says. And it's so transparent now.
So what did Mike Benz, the executive director for the Foundation for Freedom and a walking World Book Encyclopedia, just tell us? Well, we've been cheating and stealing and meddling in elections, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, dating back to 1948. And the story has not changed. The method has not changed. Well, the method has in some degree. But the predicate that you need is democracy threat. Oh my gosh. Tyranny, dictatorship, authoritarian. He's going to want revenge, retribution. And so when you get that, or you create that illusion that somehow is supposed to give you an A-OK green light to go suck and stuff ballot boxes and pay people off and just do everything that honest people wouldn't do. And this has been going on for years and years and years. We have 3 mouthpieces pushing this narrative forward on the left. You're going to know all of them. We've got Jamie Raskin. He's talking to CNN. You've got Dan Goldman. He's a congressman of Suck. He's talking to Anderson Cooper. Nancy Pelosi is sitting down with Circleback Psaki. And I think you're going to enjoy being able to hear the same dog whistle from these people. Here is Jamie Raskin lying as only Jamie Raskin can.
This is all part of a propaganda and disinformation campaign by Russia attempting to help Donald Trump. And, you know, when we point out the very clear contours of this story, our colleagues just start chanting, Russia hoax, Russia hoax. Well, what's the hoax? Is it the brutal invasion of Ukraine and the tens of thousands of Ukrainians who've died, or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Russians who've died? Is it the death of Navalny that's the hoax? What exactly is the hoax they're talking about? Because it seems to me that the most likely hoax is really Donald Trump, who's been manipulated by Putin for a long time, or is certainly in love with Vladimir Putin.
You know, he's whipping himself up into this frenzy. But again, you got to have a booga, booga, booga. Right? Threat to democracy, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, they're together. They're working together. You could feel it, right? But he's got to ice it with the emotion. Well, I mean, are you okay with all these people dying in war? Are you really okay with that guy who died in custody? Are you okay? Because I'm not okay. Okay, put a sock in it, Jamie. He needs a haircut too, or his do-rag back. All right, here we go. Dan Goldman. Dan Goldman, he fancies some kind of life for himself in Democrat politics. Here he is telling Anderson Cooper that Biden is clean. He's squeaky, my man. He is so squeaky. It's Trump, who's dirty. And my goodness, there's got to be something that that Putin knows that he's using against Donald Trump. Listen.
Not only is there no evidence of any wrongdoing by President Biden, but it now appears as if the House Republican majority is being used by Russia to interfere in the 2024 election on behalf of Donald Trump. If they continue with this investigation, they are simply doing the work of Vladimir Putin to help Donald Trump win an election in November. That's where we are.
What investigation are we talking about? That's pretty big, I think. If they continue, I can only assume. Now, I'm presuming, I do not know. But this investigation, he could be talking about digging into Joe Biden. He could be talking about the impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden and his Biden crime family syndicate of suck, right? He could be talking about that. He could be talking about Alexander Smirnov. He is the confidential human source that was on the FBI payroll who alerted the feds to the $10 million bribe from Burisma. Well, he's testifying today. He might be talking about that. He might be talking about James Biden. James Biden is supposed to be testifying today as well. So he could be talking about anything, but what did he have to talk about? But Joe Biden is perfectly fine. Pay attention over here. It's Putin and it's Trump. And they're doing it again. Well, that was all a CIA concocted scam, Dan. We know that. You should know that. I'm sure you do. But it gets iced, and it's great when you get pterodactyl hands here. Nancy Pelosi, and she's got to talk. Oh, with Jen Psaki. There's got to be some kind of a blackmail going on. He's got to have naked pictures on Donald Trump. Because I tell you what, Donald Trump is such a Putin puppet. They are going to try to steal this election, she says. Listen to insanity. Go.
Putin is probably the richest person in the world. Probably the richest person in the world. Forget all these ratings that people have. The richest person in the world. He's also the most, well, not the most evil, stiff competition for that honor, but nonetheless, among the top 3 or 4 most evil people in the world. What does he have on Donald Trump that he have to constantly be catering to Putin?
Donald Trump owns them. He lives in their minds. They can't get away. They are obsessed. Obsessed. And the harder they try, the more they fail, the more quickly they fail, the more everybody else awakens, the stronger President Trump is in all of the polling, and the more obvious it appears the path to victory is. So part of this whole exercise that we're going through together is hearing these voices, these Mike Benz guys, right? Tucker in and sitting down with Vladimir Putin. You get to hear from him yourself. You get to decide. You hear what they are saying. But whenever I hear that pants on fire, oh my gosh, we have to hurry up. It's for the greater good now. You've got to pass it to see what's in it. Don't waste any time. Act now. Bomb Yemen, right? All these wacky voices all over the political map, demanding something immediate. The minute I start hearing them go haywire, that's when I know the con is on, and they're trying with the worst kind of salespeople to pitch it to you, to our students in colleges and universities, all over the place. But we hear it and we understand it. That's called winning, my friends. All right, hour number 3 of the Wendy Bell radio program. You know, Ukraine is a clown show. I just got to say it. And one thing happened there yesterday, and that underscores everything. We should give nothing ever to that guy. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Isn't it funny? You hear now in a different way. You listen in a different, I do. I listen in a different way. Because you're awake. And while burdensome, as you guys experienced with me yesterday, when I was literally beside myself, because it gets to be a lot, which is why I started with today. Wherever you go, Wherever you let your mind go, where you need to escape, go.
Did you see Dan Goldman? KJP should talk to him about lying. He didn't blink at all.
Yeah.
He's like, huh?
We have a soundbite of hers coming up, which is.
And what is Nancy Pelosi? Did you see the ugly pin? It looked like the fruit or the vegetables from a Bloody Mary.
It does look like that. I don't know what she's got going on there. She normally wears that one that's long and has this.
Maybe she had a Bloody Mary and then.
I don't know. I gotta say.
Would you be shocked?
God, if I had her life, I'd be hammered constantly. Right? I mean, think about it.
I understand her husband.
Think about it. At some point, you realize that you've worked enough. Right? And it's time to go live. But when your identity is your job, and that's all you have because the money ain't satisfying you, it's the race. It's the suck. Then you're 84 years old, Nancy Pelosi, or whatever the hell she is.
And what does she...
I don't know. Not sure what she contributes. Not sure the
Can
relevance.
you beg for Rumbles so I don't have to read Beg for Rumbles anymore?
Well, here's what I have to do. I told them I wasn't going to. So.
I know, but I'm...
So we have 278.
28.
You know what? Can we please get to at least 29 when I get back from the bathroom? Personally, I'd love to hit it out of the park and get 200 people before then. That would.
You're
be
going
awesome.
to the bathroom again?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I got it.
200 rumbles. Thumbs up. Can you help me? I think you can do it. I'm going to be right back. And I super hope you can do it.
Are you throwing down?
No. I told them I wouldn't.
People don't need to hear us ask for Rumbles constantly. We do it in fun sometimes. Bad joke Friday, wbrbrock@gmail.com. Good news. Some people have sent some good news already. Just remember, I appreciate all the, I get both. But for the good news, it has to, when you watch it, anything that has a lot of video that you need to see the video, we can't do because we're mainly a radio show. But good news that wendybellradio@gmail.com, bad jokes wbrbrock@gmail.com. And there will be a pet show this weekend. So hopefully you guys tune in for that if you have pets.
Hi again, everybody. I feel much better. Thank you. I do.
We were
too much
we
water.
had a good 2-minute conversation while you were gone.
Is that right?
About how
look at you guys. You almost hit it. You almost did it. That's awesome. That is awesome.
I was going to text you.
What?
Where are you? Are you okay?
You know what? Fair enough. Noted. Noted. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not like I was there 5 minutes before the show.
Do you know how you start thinking about something and then your mind goes away from you? I had that, and my mind went away from me, thinking about what might have happened to you. So that it's irrational and ridiculous, I will not apologize.
Okay.
You know, if I open up multiple boxes and I log in all of them to Rumble, do we get points for that?
No.
How do you know?
Because you can go into the things and the one side tells you analytics and tells you unique view, same view, and you're logging in as yourself in all the boxes. So you just would not be a unique view. You would be and you could only
Now we have 299, 11,700 watching. Now look. So we talk about this every day. You guys get us on the leaderboard with all the heavy hitters. It's because of you. I'd love to say it's because of me. It's not. It's because of you.
Wouldn't you guys like to get to 3 without begging? Isn't that the new goal?
I think what I really wish is that we could just hit 4 once.
Is Field of Greens thick? No.
Mm-mm.
No. It goes down.
I find the red kind a little grittier than the green kind. But
I kind of like the red kind.
But I like them both very much. You won't go wrong.
No, it
3.
goes down
Thank
like
you.
water.
Thank you. All we need is 1,000 more.
Yep.
So 250 every quarter hour.
Yeah.
Why not? I think that's totally doable. If we do it in baby steps, right?
No, apparently if you don't
Little
beg,
chunks.
they won't rumble.
I'm not begging.
You just did.
I'm merely talking about common sense math. Even rudimentary skills I can do.
Yeah, if you can pull it off.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wendy Bell. Inspiring solutions to save America, one show at a time. Are you ready to get on board?
They believe that they can destroy this bond that exists between you and Trump if they somehow make Trump look bad, make Trump look like a reprobate, embarrass you about Trump. They can't do it because you came before Trump. Desperately want Trump gone, and I know that they desperately want it codified, that Trump cannot run again, because make no mistake, they remain scared to death of you, and they remain scared to death of Trump. Trump, 75 million, 80 million votes. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going anywhere. Even if Trump does, you're not. Which I think remains one of our big campaign strengths going forward. They can't separate you from Trump. And more importantly, they can't separate you from the ideas. They can't separate you from MAGA. They can't separate you from Make America Great Again.
From sea to shining sea, 3 hours of bold truth and excellence. The Wendy Bell Radio Program.
Welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Wendy Bell Radio Program. Thanks for being a part of what we do here. You know, I think critically often about places in the world I don't know much about, because it's easier in foreign lands for us to get lost in the weeds and not pay attention to the suck of our government. And I think we all followed along with this war in Ukraine. I was amazed at how everybody fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And I don't mean that it's not a war. I don't mean that it's not serious. I don't mean that there's not tragedy. It's war. Nobody gets into a war thinking it's going to be easy. It's terrible. And the collateral damage always is on the people. It's not the people who are calling the shots, who are insulated by and large. It's the folks in the countryside. It's the folks in the city who are killed because war sucks. I find it so interesting that the left, these are the hippies of the 60s, right? Ostensibly, weren't they? These anti-war people, right? The people who were fueled by government power, overreach, Kent State. The people who did sit-ins, total anti-war philosophy. All of a sudden now something wild has happened. And it's hard to understand, like, how did this How did this metamorphosis take place? This is more than emerging from a cocoon as a totally different creature. It's crazy. We don't get any receipts. We don't ever get updates. Certainly not updates you would believe, because it's all propaganda BS, which is disturbing. It's disgusting, and it makes me angry because that was my chosen field until I awaken someday and realize that the media suck. And I can't be a part of that. I want to read you this story because it's going to open up your eyes. This is from this gentleman. His name is Jordan Schachtel, and he has a Substack called The Dossier. In fact, I don't know if it's a Substack, but it's an article that you can get. And we found this. Brock sent it to me this morning, and he's exactly right. And this deserves to be said. We ought not be propping up an authoritarian government, a tyrannical leader, if we are actually worried about threats to democracy, if we are actually worried about the last election ever, because Zelensky, with his magic wand yesterday, decided to postpone indefinitely, who knows till when, the presidential election, which is slated for in Ukraine next month. His 5-year term is up. He's up for re-election. It should be up to the people of Ukraine to say this is the path we want to go or this is not the path we want to go. Well, he's decided for them. No, it's too dangerous. I need to stay in power. Does that sound democratic to you? Does that sound like something Americans would get behind? Does that sound like something all of the hippies of the 60s should get behind? Because they do, which is just baffling to me. Here's your story. A very significant political event occurred in Ukraine earlier this month, and almost nobody noticed. President Vladimir Zelensky, the leader of the war-torn country, just received approval from his parliament to extend martial law another 90 days. There have been many parliamentary extensions of the wartime mandate, but this one carried special significance because the 2024 presidential elections in Ukraine were scheduled for March 31st, 2024, coinciding with the end of Zelensky's 5-year term. Now that martial law is in place to cover that time period, Ukraine's presidential elections have been canceled indefinitely. Think about that. Now, where is Dan Goldman? Where is Nancy Pelosi? Hey, Jamie Raskin, shouldn't you be upset about this? Because this is what you squawk about here in the United States, alleging that that's what Donald Trump is doing. So stupid. There's currently no date set yet for the next election. And this is really going to be terrible. Because lawmakers in Parliament have failed to even entertain the matter. Well, it sounds like everybody's kind of corrupt, is it not? It sounds like that to me. Of course, now I'm getting up against a paywall here. There we go. While it's not particularly unreasonable to want to postpone elections during a devastating war, the case of Ukraine deserves a closer examination given the series of events leading up to this decision to extend martial law. In November, a former Zelensky advisor named Oleksiy Arestovich announced he's going to be challenging Zelensky for the presidency, promising to focus on a negotiated settlement to end the war with Russia. Arestovich was fiercely critical of Zelensky's approach to the conflict, maintaining that a settlement was in the best interests of Ukrainians. Far from a pro-Moscow shill, the Russian government has an active arrest warrant out for him. Yet just days after his announcement, Ukraine's national police force, under the direction of the Zelensky government, launched a criminal investigation against Arestovich. Are they contacting the Democratic Party here, the establishment of suck here in the United States? Some of them, you've gone after Donald Trump. Maybe we could do that too. Furthermore, over the course of the devastating war, the Ukrainian government has continually centralized power to the point that no trace of a representative democracy currently exists in the country. Zelensky has repeatedly sicked his national police on any and all current and former Ukrainian officials who depart from the accepted narrative of the war, which essentially amounts to fighting Russia to the very last Ukrainian if necessary. Virtually every dissident from the former war narrative ends up on the wrong side of a corruption investigation or worse. All opposition parties have been removed from the parliament. Think about that. That's like carving out every Republican. And all non-state media has been banned from the airwaves. Silencio! The paranoia-infused government has even signed into law a measure to ban all new Russian books from being imported into the country. Ukraine's 2024 election served as the last means of restoring accountability for a government hell-bent on advancing a strategy of geopolitical bleh, continuing to force its countrymen to wage war against a much more powerful neighbor. Under the cover of this fog of war, the Ukrainian government has transformed into a totalitarian dictatorship, losing the moral high ground it once maintained with the public at the beginning of hostilities. When the war finally ends, the Ukrainian people will have to find a way to restore some semblance of the constitutional order that has been shattered in just 2 years' time. Now, how is that any different than the abject warfare that the Uniparty, the progressive socialist, Marxist, communist left of suck has launched on we the people? They don't want you to hear dissenting opinions. In fact, big tech tries and goes out of its way and has for years now to silence those of us who merely want to ask questions. You're not allowed to do that. Get in line, obey, acquiesce to every request, and shut the hell up. Does this sound like a government we should be propping up? Does it sound like that's a guy we should be giving hundreds of billions of dollars to when we know he's getting his rump handed to him and that the carnage in the countryside is breathtaking? And we also know that there had been a peace deal, a negotiation before this whole thing even started. That the Biden administration sent Boris Johnson in to basically incinerate. And knowing all of this, are you still going to be conned into the emotion of, oh, poor Ukraine? Nobody wants to see what's going on to their people. But I firmly stand here and say funding a totalitarian who has just eliminated democratic elections is not in the best interest of the United States of America. But I'm probably just a Putin puppet, right? Hey, when we come back, when we read this story about this emergency martial law thing and no more elections, I got a little weird feeling in my stomach. It's very familiar if you're in the land before time. A little flashback for Pennsylvanians next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. It's a great article. I'm sitting here trying to log in and share my freaking email.
I will. I think it's comical also in the same breath that we aren't hearing about Zelensky canceling an election. What do we hear out of the media of Putin killed his opposition? Well, didn't you think what you want? How that guy died? I don't know. I wasn't
Navalny?
there. Yeah,
Oh.
I wasn't there, so I can't confirm anything.
I don't believe any of it.
I don't either. You know, but what's the difference between killing your opposition and canceling an election? Logically, there's no difference. There's no difference. You killed everyone's right to vote.
You eliminate the other guy.
Yeah. I hate all Democrats. I hate the Dan Goldmans of the world. The Nancy Pelosi's, because all they're worried about is if they don't give Zelensky what he wants, he's going to start chirping, because that's all they know. So
I think Zelensky knows where the bodies are
I
buried.
do
He
too.
knows all the fraud. And this also then has us asking the question, why was Lindsey Graham so hot and heavy to fly over there and get his picture
All of them.
taken? And Zelensky invites Trump to come over. Why would you even consider that? Negative, Ghost Rider.
You know why? I don't think he wants Trump to come. But it's a plea
he's
for
playing
more
poker.
Dough.
It's
He's
plea
playing
for more
poker.
dough.
No, he's playing poker with the Democrats. You either make this happen, Trump comes over, I give him all the dirt.
He's got the binder.
Someone has it. I wish it was me.
So how is we need 250 each quarter hour. How's that working for us?
Poorly.
Poorly?
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
You're now behind.
3.11. That sucks.
I don't just the way
it doesn't suck.
The way the Democrats' mind works, there is literally no logic. Not figuratively, literally no logic in their head. And Jamie Raskin, what's Trump have him on? I got a better question, Jamie. What's the DNC have on you? What does Washington have on you? For you to come out and out lie, straight up lie, what do they have? Goldman, what do they? Here's another thing, Goldman. You are the heir to the Levi Strauss money.
What are you
doing in Congress? What?
Go live your freaking life,
Right?
yo.
Like at some point, like maybe, if I had that much money, I'd be like, I think I'm just going to start a charity or something, do something I like. Maybe I'll buy a golf course. I hope Steve Garvey wins in California.
They say that Schiff is leading on his side.
Yeah, just because there's 3 losers on the left.
Steve Garvey is a common sense businessman.
And
he's common sense and he's conservative.
A fan of his from baseball.
Me too.
Him, Steve Sachs, Bill Russell, Ron Say, Mike Scioscia. I just named the infield.
Wow, good job.
That was my West Coast team growing up. But the star of the Dodgers was Vin Scully. The GOAT. Love me some Vin Scully. He's my boyfriend.
He's awesome. I don't know who's better, him or Chick Hearn.
No question.
Vin Scully. So this whole narrative that Mike Benz outlined for us in those 2 sound bites at the beginning or at the end of the last show, it opens the door to the playbook. You're aware of the playbook. You need to create an excuse to cheat. And your cheating is to prevent democracy's collapse. Wow, that sounds fantastic. Well, when I look at what Zelensky is doing, declaring martial law in Ukraine so as to push back, who knows, if ever, the presidential elections, which were slated for the end of next month, so he can remain in power forever, which is exactly what these Democrats are saying, and pants on fire, worrying about Donald Trump. Pennsylvania already lived through this. We lived in a very specific microcosm of suck during COVID that I hope a lot of you did not, because it was particularly oppressive in this Commonwealth. And it was oppressive because of Tom Wolf, who was the governor of the state before Josh Shapiro of Suck moved in. When you have people who are easily intoxicated by the magic wand, these are people for whom the spotlight is like a miracle grow for their ego. Bad crap happens. And it happened in Pennsylvania. And I dredged up this article from The Federalist. Pennsylvania voters fight back against power-hungry governor abusing emergency powers. Don't tell us that this is what Donald Trump wants to do. Don't tell us that he's going to seek revenge, that he's all about retribution. And if he gets back into office, it's going to be untenable. because we've already lived by it. And I'm going to give you a little sampling of that. Before the COVID-19 outbreak, state sovereignty was viewed as a check on federal encroachment. Americans welcomed this limit on centralized power, but amid the ongoing panic, the coercive effects of unbridled executive authority are on display in the states themselves. This authoritarian streak is evident in New York, California, and Michigan. And the author says, my home state, Pennsylvania, where Democratic Governor Tom Wolf's shutdown orders, enforced through emergency powers, have flung economic shrapnel. This guy had his own freaking goon squad to knock on family-owned business doors and freaking shake them down. And if I saw Tom Wolf, it would take every fiber of my soul to not go right up to him and punch him in the face. Wolf's restrictions, some of the most draconian in the country, have inflicted the Keystone States communities with mass unemployment, social disorder, widespread despair, and overall economic decline. Other states should view Pennsylvania's course as an alarming model for how their own governors and local officials can seize unlimited emergency executive governance, just like Zelensky just did. In response to Wolf, Pennsylvanians, beginning with their representatives in the state's General Assembly, are pursuing a voter-driven remedy that could serve as a national model. A constitutional amendment placed before voters this year would check a governor's unilateral, indefinite emergency powers. Now, look, the reason I share this with you, we were on the air. We were employed by a radio station during COVID. And every day in the afternoon drive from 3 to 6, I spoke the truth. We took phone calls from businesses all across Pennsylvania for whom the goons were sent. They threatened their liquor licenses. They threatened their occupancy permits. They threatened everything about them until enough businesses said, suck it. It's either you or it is me. My livelihood, my heart and soul, my blood, sweat, and tears, my sacrifice. You do not deserve the wand of destruction. And they fought back. And it was a struggle that we chronicled day after day after day until I was fired for doing so. The interesting thing when you push back against tyranny, when you call out obvious fraud, when you see through the pretenders and you open up the playbook and see how familiar it is, you become public enemy number one. And you know what's really great about that? Public enemy number one is always on to something. If we weren't, they would leave us alone. There's a consistency in messaging, though, that comes from Donald Trump. And I didn't realize how long it's been so consistent until I found a clip from 1980 that I've got to play for you. Donald Trump as a 34-year-old man being interviewed about why he wasn't interested in being president. Oh boy. Don't go anywhere. I got it for you next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network. You know, and it's tricky in Pennsylvania because we have a lot of dirty people, a lot of dirty Republicans. Dirty in many ways, compromised, certainly not conservative.
Pretending to be something.
Very disappointing. And I've had it out with a couple of them. like the head of the RNC in my county, who I basically said was a zero and he needed to get out of an event, to the head state senator at the time, who was a zero herself, called her out for being feckless and corrupt. Hey, I got fired. Okay. Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you. You're going to flip when you hear this audio soundbite, though. I think it's very interesting. I don't know if you guys paid attention to it. It was sort of buried in this town hall clip with Laura Ingraham from yesterday when she asked Donald Trump about the polling that was coming out in advance of the primary in South Carolina. And she played a clip, Fox played a clip from Nikki Haley, basically saying that she had no intention of being his vice president. And then, of course, he was like, she was off my list months ago, right? She's reading from a teleprompter. If you can't get up, like, if you can't be called out of a crowd, hey, you, hey, Earl, get over here. Come on, I want you to talk. Tell everybody how you feel. If you're incapable of doing that without structure, without a plan, you ought not run for office in this country. Because the number of people, particularly in conservative circles, who go to listen to a conservative speaker, 90% of it is just being around other like-minded people who feel the way you do about this country. The other 10%, I want to hear what you have to say. But I want to be here. That's why those Trump rallies are freaking outlandish. Outlandish. And that's why people are willing to spend hours.
I think what's crazy is you don't get invited to speak at RNC stuff, but all the candidates you get emailed about. Different organizations you get emailed about.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So you were saying that you had it out with the RN, like the head of the Republican. Yeah, they don't invite, but all the candidates, all the separate clubs, organizations away from the RNC but are Republican will reach out. I just think it's funny that the
RNC in Pittsburgh sucks.
Yeah.
It's got a terrible leader.
The
terrible.
Party is against it. But all the other organizations that say I have Republican values are all bought. So what's that tell you? It tells you another higher ups are out of touch with what the people want. Unions, our government.
I agree.
I ran back, so you didn't worry.
I can very easily stop caring about you.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could.
No, you couldn't.
Pretty sure I could.
Mm-mm.
You don't know me very well then.
Really? Really?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I hate you. I'm at 4.5 hours.
Delicious sweet strawberries.
I've got my water. Ice cold, refreshing water.
Hey, if you are new to us and new to me, I have a show on the weekends on Newsmax. I have no idea where they have it now. It used to be after an hour-long infomercial, a medical commercial of some kind. I have no idea where it is now. But this week's show, I think, is going to be very significant because we're talking about evil. And to be honest with you, it's one of those shows where I have some pre-scripted questions. I write everything, right? And it's fine. It's not any heavy lifting. It's fun because we get to talk. And I have 3 talk radio hosts every week who join me, and it's kind of a revolving door of talent. We
Are
asked
you having the topic?
We asked the John Frederick to join us. Hopefully he's available, but it's about evil, about this darkness, about this evil.
I might actually watch this week.
And so I'm super interested. I really hope that these particular people that we've selected are going to be able to go there, to get out of the realm of necessary, like politics per se, and go into this unraveling of just the moral decay. We've just
putting it lightly.
It's like just rot in our country, and calling it out and digging out of it. I think it's going to be great.